Bawat umaga, hapon at gabi,
Isang karangalan na makapagsilbi.
at matapos ang kanilang araw ng may ngiti.
Ako ay isang integrated maintenance specialist. Ang aking responsibilidad ay mapanatili at mas papalawak pa ang komunikasyon ng bawat pamilyang Pilipino.
ang responsibility ko ay mapanatili ang magandang serbisyo at makapaghatid ng magandang produkto.
Ako po ang nag-handle ng mga VIP clients sa kanilang mga katanungan upang mabigyan sila ng agarang solusyon para sa ating mga kliyente.
Mahirap man ang aming trabaho sa araw-araw, pero patuloy namin ipapakilala ang aming produkto sa bawat Pilipino.
Minsan nagtatanong ako sa sarili ko, bakit ba ako nandito? Pero at the end of the day, iisipin mo ang hirap maghanap ng trabaho. So I feel blessed that I am able to help other people at the same time my family.
Kahit babad man sa ilalim ng araw, alam ko naman merong magandang maidudulot ang lahat ng ito para sa nakararami.
Pag may isang customer na nakakaalam na pwede pala mag-video call ng walang internet, dito palang napapangiti na ako kasi pwede palang makapag-connect sila sa families nila through our products and services. Nandito ako to give every Filipino a chance to stay connected kahit saan man dito.
Ngayong Pasko, nandito ako para iparamdam sa kanila na kahit anong mangyari, hindi ko sila iiwan.
Nandito ako, handang magsakripisyo upang mas marami pang marating ang aming serbisyo.
Luna Academy is an online learning platform that provides high-quality, industry-relevant, widely accessible, and future-ready skills training you can learn anywhere at any time. Our strong global partnerships provides you access to hundreds of courses at affordable prices in 3 easy steps. Step 1. Register. Click the Register button to create your account. You can also use your existing Facebook, LinkedIn, or Gmail account for easy registration. Step 2. Choose your course. After signing up, you can now access your personal dashboard where you can now choose from a wide range of courses or topics. From information technology, business, personal development, leadership, engineering, agriculture, entrepreneurship, design, safety, culinary arts, to digital marketing. Step 3. Online payment. After choosing a course, just simply click on Add to Cart and select your preferred payment option. Luna Academy's course certification gives you an edge among other applicants and builds your field credibility as it expands your skills portfolio with newly acquired knowledge, helping you reach your career goals. Our industry partners are also available to support you in landing your dream job. Learn and change your future at Luna Academy, your #1 choice in credential building. We provide not only high-impact, relevant, and affordable courses, but also a future-ready e-learning platform. Because here in Luna Academy, we want you to learn, adapt, and inspire.
Milestones are filled with joy, excitement, even surprise. And sometimes we could all use support to make important decisions. Introducing conversational marketplaces. Now, people can message your network of businesses or franchises anytime, anywhere, for a truly personalized customer experience. You can start with adding messaging to your brand's website, allowing consumers to easily ask questions and receive recommendations while they're casually browsing. Messaging offers a suite of rich features, like scheduling appointments, to elevate the customer experience at each touchpoint in their journey. Data shows that messaging is the people's channel of choice. It enables people to connect with brands in the same place as their family and friends. Messaging facilitates a true continuous connection. This means that both brands and people can proactively reach out in a personal way, ultimately driving higher engagement, satisfaction, and conversions. Help your customers move forward in their journey with inline form fill capabilities. This means customers don't need to move to a separate page to complete a form or process, removing a very common friction point that leads to drop-off. Security is a top priority for both brands and customers. Messaging promotes consensual first-party data collection. This makes your customers feel comfortable when sharing their most personal information. Automation can play a pivotal role in building branding loyalty throughout the entire customer journey by keeping them informed about the status of the product or service they've purchased. With marketplaces, bots and humans work together in harmony to deliver a best-in-class experience through messaging, from discovery to decision to payment to support. Conversational Marketplaces brings all of these pieces together in a solution that's uniquely created for marketplaces of all shapes and sizes. Whether you're a big brand with independent merchants or franchises, or a business directory for local services and goods, LivePerson can tailor a custom strategy to meet your brand's needs and goals. Start providing conversational experiences that provide greater certainty across any channel in the moments that matter.
umaga, hapon at gabi,
Isang karangalan na makapagsilbi.
at matapos ang kanilang araw ng may ngiti.
Ako ay isang integrated maintenance specialist. Ang aking responsibilidad ay mapanatili at mas papalawak pa ang komunikasyon ng bawat pamilyang Pilipino.
ang responsibility ko ay mapanatili ang magandang serbisyo at makapaghatid ng magandang produkto.
Ako po ang nag-handle ng mga VIP clients sa kanilang mga katanungan upang mabigyan sila ng agarang solusyon para sa ating mga kliyente.
Mahirap man ang aming trabaho sa araw-araw, pero patuloy namin ipapakilala ang aming produkto sa bawat Pilipino.
Minsan nagtatanong ako sa sarili ko, bakit ba ako nandito? Pero at the end of the day, iisipin mo ang hirap maghanap ng trabaho. So I feel blessed that I am able to help other people at the same time my family.
Kahit babad man sa ilalim ng araw, alam ko naman merong magandang maidudulot ang lahat ng ito para sa nakararami.
Pag may isang customer na nakakaalam na pwede pala mag-video call ng walang internet, dito pa lang napapangiti na ako. Kasi pwede palang makapag-connect sila sa families nila through our products and services. Nandito ako to give every Filipino a chance to stay connected kahit saan man dito.
Ngayong Pasko, nandito ako para iparamdam sa kanila na kahit anong mangyari, hindi ko sila iiwan.
Nandito ako, handang magsakripisyo upang mas marami pang marating ang aming serbisyo.
reimagining a digital future with purposeful innovations. They are the Dito CME. Who are they? Who is the face behind this most talked about stock of 2021? I'm Sheena, your host, and this is today's episode of TOUCHBASE featuring Dito CME. Welcome to another episode of TOUCHBASE, and we are overwhelmed by your support to the recent event that we had, the Crossroads, the Market Outlook 2022 for MyTrade and Abacus Securities Corporation. It makes us happy to see that more and more Filipino investors are becoming more interested in learning about the companies that they're buying. And I've actually watched the speech of the PSE President, Mr. Monzon, the other day during the IPO listing ceremony of the Figaro Coffee Group. By the way, congrats, guys. And he said there that there are no IPO listing that happens in the month of January since 2003. This company has been a surprise because being the third telco player in the country, they recently have made changes in their holding companies that pave way to big ownership in their telecommunications business. So if you are excited, as me, comment hashtag Dito na me. All right, so I want to see you guys commenting Dito, hashtag Dito na me. All right, nandito na ba kayo? At gusto niyo na ba makilala sila? O pues, nandito na sila, and let me introduce today's guest. Hit it.
Ernesto Eric R. Alberto, President and Board Director. Eric is a seasoned executive with nearly 4 decades of extensive experience in telecommunications, corporate banking, relationship management, and business development. He joined Dito CME as its president last August 2020. Prior to joining Dito CME, he held a variety of top management and C-level positions in PLDT, where he was Chief Revenue Officer and Executive Vice President for PLDT and Smart, as well as President and CEO of ePLDT Incorporated. Eric pursued his Master of Studies in Economic Research at the University of Asia and the Pacific. He is a graduate of San Beda College with a major degree in economics, minor in mathematics, and political science. Donald L. Lim, Chief Operating Officer, Dito CME, Chief Innovation Officer, Udena Corporation. Donald is Dito CME's Chief Operating Officer and serves as Chief Innovation Officer of parent company Udena Corporation in a concurrent capacity. He is one of the pioneers and founding fathers of digital marketing in the Philippines and was responsible for the growth of trailblazing companies ABS-CBN Digital and MWG's MRM. He was a past national president of the Philippine Marketing Association, as well as a founding president of the Internet and Mobile Marketing Association of the Philippines. Donald has been awarded the TOYM in Community Building and a Young Global Leader conferred by the World Economic Forum. Donald has been on the Board of Governors of the Management Association of the Philippines and was part of the Board of Directors of the Manila Junior Chamber and Board of Trustees of WWF Philippines and Operation Smile. Joseph John L. Ong, Chief Finance Officer and a member of Board of Directors, Dito CME Holdings Corporation. From 2010 to 2019, he held various executive positions in board directorships within the Udena Group of companies, including CFO of Phoenix Petroleum Philippines Incorporated and Vice President for Corporate Planning for Udena Corp prior to joining Udena Group. He spent almost 10 years at Prime World Digital Systems Incorporated with his last position of Executive Vice President, Operations and Chief Finance Officer. From 1987 to 1999, he was with Ginebra San Miguel Incorporated, with his last position as Vice President for Treasury. He spearheaded the public listing of the company in 1995, only the second company in the group to list after SMC in 1948. Prior to joining the San Miguel Group, he held various positions at the Bank of Philippine Islands and Ayala Investments and Development Corporation. He received his Bachelor of Science in Commerce, majoring in Management of Financial Institutions from De La Salle University in 1980. Nerissa S. Ramos, Chief Strategy Officer, Business Development Advisor, Dito CME. Nerissa is a veteran IT and telecoms business executive with over 30 years of experience across a various array of business domains, namely P&L management, sales and marketing, engineering and planning, business and technology operations, service delivery management, process automation, and business transformation, leading multi-billion peso companies with full P&L accountability. Prior to joining the Udena Group, Nerissa was a Group Chief Operating Officer and Director of EPLDT Incorporated, an IT company specializing in data center cybersecurity, cloud and managed services solutions, as well as President and CEO of IB Converge Incorporated, a cloud data center company.
Kita nyo naman, we're packed with a lot of amazing people this afternoon, and I'm really excited to meet them. And later on, they will have a discussion, or basically the presentation of their stock rights offer, followed by the panel Q&A with the top executives of Dito Dito as CME, and followed by the part 2, which is the one-on-one interview with Sir Eric Alberto. All right, so without further ado, let me call on screen the presenter for today, Sir Donald Lim. Hi, Sir Donald.
Hello. Hi. Good afternoon, China. Thank you for having us.
All right, sir. I am glad that nandito ka na. All right, we will, I'll leave you the floor. You can
Sure.
present
Thank
now.
you. Thank you. Thank you, China, and the team from iTrade for having us. I'll just share with everyone a very quick presentation on Dito CME, and for everyone to have a better grasp, and appreciation of Dito CME. People always think that we are the third telco, yes, but we are more than just the third telco. And allow me to present to you very quickly, who we are and what are our competitive strengths. So, having said this, allow me to give everyone a quick overview of Dito CME Holdings. So we are led by, of course, our chairman. I'm very familiar with him, Dennis Ang Uy, who is our chairman and CEO. Our president, Eric Alberto. As introduced earlier, our chief strategy officer is Nerissa. Our CFO is Jojo Ong. Our head of investor relations is Leo Venezuela, and myself, Donald Lim, for handling the COO position. So we reimagine a digital future with purposeful innovation. So we believe that the Philippines is very primed for digital transformation, and we want to be here to drive that. Our vision is to empower and enable the digital lifestyle of every Filipino, with the mission to connect people to people, transform legacy tools and practices to digital, making human transactions simpler, faster, and easier, enabled by best-in-class technology. Our values are anchored on 4 key principles: human-centered innovation, inclusive growth, executional excellence, integrity, and respect. Just very briefly on the organizational and the legal structure of the corporate structure of Dito CME. As you can see here, our mother company is Udena Corporation, which holds 79.80% of Dito CME. We have 20% that is floated to the public, and 0.18% is owned by various directors and officers. Under Dito CME, we have 2 key investments. Of course, one is Udena CME, which in turn holds almost 90% of Dito Holding Corp. No, Dito Holding Corp is the one who holds the 60% joint venture with Chinatel. No, so we are the majority shareholder for Dito Telecommunity, which is the third telco. Under DCME is also DCME Ventures, where we hold 100% of this is our operating company. And under it, for the past year, we have invested in three key business units. First of which is Luna Academy. Second is Acuity Global. And third is Unalytics. And later on, I'll give everyone a quick background also on these three prime investments. Just very quickly, Dito Telecommunity, just to give you everyone an update. No? So we're the new kid on the block. We're the new major player in the telco market. And we're the only telco company with 100% 4G and 5G network. As you can see here, no, using this 5G technology, it allows our users to avail next-gen services such as later on AI, Internet of Things, ultra-low latency, high reliability, and security. So what does it mean? If you look at it, though, especially later on, mga appliances, no, our appliances would later have Internet of Things, will be connected to the internet. 5G will be one of your enabling technology. So just a quick history of Dito Telecommunity. So we were granted the Certificate of Public Convenience and Necessity by the NTC in July 2019. And in 2020, especially during the time when the pandemic struck, we started the construction of our cell sites and towers. A year after, January 2021, the NTC conducted its first technical audit. And by February, we passed our first tech audit, delivering 37.48 national coverage and average broadband speed of 85 Mbps for 4G and 500 Mbps for 5G. It was only in March 2021, so less than a year ago, we started commercial operations. In May of 2021, we secured another 25-year franchise until 2048, and the NTC in July of 2020 conducted its second technical audit. In September, they released and advised everyone that we passed our technical audit, and we have reached more than 52.75% now of the national population with broadband speeds of 89 Mbps for 4G and 854 Mbps for 5G. So in less than a year of operations, where are we? We are now distributed. We have access more than 500 cities and municipalities. We have more than 5 million mobile subscribers. We have constructed over 4,000 towers. So in a pandemic year, I think we hold the record for constructing the most number of towers, 2,000 towers in 2020 and another 2,000, give or take, in 2021. We have laid down more than 22,000 kilometers of fiber optic cables, and we have also increased our sales channels now for more than 42,000. So in less than a year of operations, we are very proud to have reached these milestones. Now, just very quickly on our three other investments, Luna Academy is our venture into EdTech. No? So we are an MOOC, which is what you call a massive open online classroom. And we would like to position ourselves as the local Coursera. So during this pandemic, we realized that a lot of people need to be upskilled and are really looking forward to taking on courses. So in a span of a year, we have loaded more than 400 courses online in Luna Academy, 5,000 hours of quality courses, 100 plus online industry and certification programs, 50 plus industry, government educational partners, and currently we have already 3,000 registered online learners. Most of the courses here are from Microsoft, Alibaba, Amazon, Google. No? So we have a lot of tech courses, but we've also partnered with, for example, our sister company like Enderon. So we have culinary courses inside. And at the same time, we have soft skills. So management, leadership, entrepreneurship skills are also being offered in Luna Academy. So feel free to check it out. That's lunaacademy.ph. Our other business unit is called the Acuity Global. This is our foray into the sales, marketing, and out-of-home and digital spaces. Acuity Global is we're one of the biggest aggregators of out-of-home inventories, advertising inventory. So currently we hold more than 10,000 what we call out-of-home advertising platforms. So be it what we call spectacular billboards along EDSA or the LED screens along NLEX, SLEX, C5, among others, major thoroughfares, all the way down to the wet markets and also the jeepney tops and tricycle advertising, we have access. So currently, we are reselling all of these inventories not only to the Udena group of companies but also to various multinationals and various corporations. Alongside with that, we're also the agency for TikTok. Of course, we also resell Facebook, Google, among many others. So we are basically an out-of-home and digital advertising and media solutions agency. No, so this is one of our biggest up-and-coming companies. No, and currently we are doing very well in terms of selling these advertising spaces. No? Third is our enterprise, no? Enterprise and digital transformation arm. We realized that in order to help drive the digital transformation of the Philippines, we have to help the companies in the Philippines, no, undergo a proper digital transformation process. So we offer compliance as a service, conversational analytics, among others, and we have partnered with four of the biggest global experts in the digital transformation space, namely SAS, Unscramble, Live Person, and Striker Tech. So these partnerships allow us, right, access to the best-in-class technologies and solutions, and we are offering their digital transformation solutions now to conglomerates, holding companies, no, especially, for example, compliance as a service. This would be more finance, banking, insurance companies. Conversational analytics is something we offer to retail and marketing companies, no, especially those who use chatbots or social media to market to their clients. So among many others. So this is one of our most uh, uh, up and coming, no, and we have also experienced tremendous success with Unalytics. No, we initially started offering these solutions within the Udena group of companies, and now we're offering this outside. So what are our competitive strengths? I've shared with you the four companies under the Dito CME Holdings. Now let me share with you our competitive strengths, why we are a good investment. So here are 6 key competitive investments, and I will go through this one by one. First is that we are well positioned to benefit from the country's robust industry dynamics. No? So if you look at our Philippine economic fundamentals, it remains to be strong amidst the ups and downs of the economy. We are well poised to be one of the top 20, not our top 25 economies by the year 2030. And why is that? Because of course, we are the second most populous country in Southeast Asia with more than 109 million in term population. Our median age is 25.7 years old, which is very young, and we're one of the most internet-savvy population in Asia, which tells us that we are really ripe and ready for digital transformation, digital consumption, and digital usage in a real digital lifestyle. Second is that we provide diverse and digitally focused solutions and innovations. While DCME as a holding company, we believe that there are a lot of investments in the space of digital. We focus on categories and businesses that have the highest potential to succeed, highest growth rates, and at the same time, where we can really provide purposeful and meaningful innovations. No? So this would be in the space of media and communication, education, telco, data analytics, data hubs, and e-commerce. Third is that, of course, we hold an interest in Dito telecommunity. Our country is one of the most underserved countries in the region when it comes to telco and information technology services. We have the lowest tower densities compared to neighboring countries, and still 54%, though more than half of our subscribers are on 2G or 3G network. Dito Telecommunity bridges that gap. We are offering 4G and 5G 100%, no, 4G and 5G network with no legacy assets. And one of our strength is really our partnership with China Telco, which is our world leader in 5G technology. At the same time, we are the only telco company that has to undergo seasonal audits to ensure a good performance. Fourth is that we are linked to world-renowned and accredited institutions. Our company, our holding company, maintains and develops an extensive network of third-party suppliers and strategic partnerships. So one of the key things we embarked on for the past year, 2021, was really anchoring our business solutions with key partners. And mind you, these are big and global partners that have agreed to work with us. Of course, with Ditotel, there's China Telecom. With Luna Academy, we partnered with CloudSwift, and then all of these big companies from Microsoft, Google, among others. For our Acuity Global, we have partnered with the biggest out-of-home suppliers in the country and also the biggest publishers in the digital space. And with Unalytics, as mentioned, we partnered with 4 of the biggest digital transformation companies, enterprise transformation companies in the world, and now we're offering all of these solutions to as an within the Udena group and also to other companies outside. Fifth is that we are part of the Udena Group's ecosystem. So our advantage is that, well, I would say, unlike most conglomerates, we do not work in silos. We collaborate heavily with one another. As you might be familiar with, our flagship, of course, is our Phoenix, our oil and gas company called Phoenix. We have Chelsea, which are shipping and logistics arm. We have a sister school, Enderon College, and our retail groups, Conti's, Wendy's, Family Mart, and our access to sari-sari stores, to 8,000 sari-sari stores, Posible, and Clark Global City. So all in all, we work with one another heavily, and most of the solutions that we have started offering, we started with all of these companies. We gained tremendous success, and now we are offering all of these solutions, whether from Unalytics to Acuity Global. We are now offering that to companies outside. And finally, our management team has extensive experience in the world of IT, telco, and digital sectors. Combined, we have 200 years of experience in these spaces, and we have a very deep bench of seasoned professionals who are leading the different business companies. So having said that, let me just summarize who and what Dito CME is. Of course, our biggest investment is Dito Telecommunity. We've made headway in various digital spaces in 2021 with Luna Academy, Acuity Global, and Unalytics. Our strengths are laid down here for you to read. And hopefully that gives you a good idea of where Dito CME is. We've been working hard for the past 2021, and we're looking forward to a very, very exciting 2022. So that ends my presentation, and now I'll back to you, Gina.
Thank you, Sir Donald. Very, insightful. I think I like the structured part that you have showed a while ago. So we will call in the panel to further ask. I can see a lot of questions already from the audience. They are really intelligent questions. I think you'll love to answer them. Now we call in Sir Eric Alberto.
Good afternoon, Tina, and thank you on behalf of my colleagues, thank you for having us on your online session, TOUCHBASE. Salamat.
All right. So, hi, Miss Nerissa. Miss Nerissa, are you
Hi,
there?
Gina, and good afternoon to your international audience. I saw a lot of them coming into Conversational.
Last but not the least, Sir Jojo. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
All right, so this is our panel for this afternoon, and we will be starting to flash in our questions. All right, excited na ba kayo na nandito na yung audience? This is the first time. If this is your first time to tune in, we are TOUCHBASE. This is getting to know the face behind the brand, and today's topic is about Dito CME. From Manoy's finest, so what gives you a fighting chance to take some of the market which already belongs to the bigger telcos? What product or advantage do you have against them?
Maybe I'll take on that question, Tina, and I'll be as brief as possible on top of what Donald has already mentioned. First, a fighting chance. I'd start with the macro picture. We're the only country in the world, a developing country of that, with over 100 million population that only has 2 mobile players. If you look at our peers closer to within the region, even our ASEAN neighbors, which are much smaller in population size, and certainly much smaller in terms of GDP and per capita incomes, like Myanmar, Laos, and Cambodia, have more than 3 players. And certainly there's room, particularly that belong to that league of fast rising economies. Prior to the pandemic, we were number 2 only to Indonesia in terms of economic growth. And the last 2 years of the pandemic have shown that digital adoption has been accelerated in this country, even encompassing those in the lower income segments. A lot of things that we used to do on legacy person to person has given way to digital enablement in terms of lifestyles, in the way people do commerce, in the way they buy and sell, the way they shop, the way they go, buy their basic necessities, from the way they do their fintech transactions, send money to their loved ones in the provinces, from the way they buy load, and last but not least, from the way they entertain themselves, whether through video or e-gaming. So this has drastically changed because digital applications are not only cost beneficial, they're not only convenient, but with the pandemic, they're also effectively safe. And that will not change as the market adopts digital. So in that backdrop, there are about 100 million Filipinos. The number of SIMs, the market is fully saturated. I think there are about 135 to 140 million SIMs out there, implying that a lot of our fellow countrymen are double SIMing. They carry two phones or at least two SIMs in one phone. And certainly, the proposition of the third telco, that's why it came to the fore, is the clamor of the consumer for alternative, better services. If you look at it 3-4 years ago, prior to the appointment of a third telco, the market was really awash with customer issues on service, no? Particularly on broadband speed, no? That pales in comparison to our peers in the world and certainly in the region. And that really gave rise to the how they call it, the significance and relevance of having a third telco. Simple answer, yes, we're very bullish that there is room for a third player, and the fighting chance comes in the form of the partnership, Filipino talent that is young and digital, partnered with the best in 4G, 5G technologies in our partner in China Telecom, which is a leading purveyor of the latest on 4G and 5G technology. Certainly, one of the is not the largest in the world. Number three, we actually have a no baggage startup telco enterprise with all brand new network that will provide certainly alternative services, telco services to the public, which are along the lines of number one, delivering faster speed, which is very much in demand as the applications become more varied, available to the market. Number two, a digital experience. We don't have to rely on traditional channels by which we can engage our customers, whether they buy our SIMs or they top up on the load. And last but not least, we'd like to present ourselves not the cheapest, but certainly the highest value for money provider with easy to buy, easy to understand product offerings.
All right.
Quite a mouthful. Sorry, I just had to encapsulate all of this. For the
All
question.
right, sir. No worries. Any additional to that? Or we move on to the next question.
Siguro, China, I'd like to emphasize lang the first point made by Eric on that there's definitely a room for a third telco. And one proof of that is that if you go to the provinces, really, there are smaller ISPs that continue to exist and profit and become and are still profitable. If you go to cable TV companies have actually converted themselves into internet service providers. So clearly there is a need for there's a room for another broadband provider. So even if there's competitor as large as the current incumbents, there's still a gap that has to be filled, that has to be met. Second, we also believe that the behaviors that changed, that shifted during the pandemic, like hybrid education online and face-to-face will continue. Hybrid face-to-face work in the office and work from home will continue, which means the necessity for a backup broadband is also is crucial. Just this morning I had problem with my fiber, so I use my mobile internet instead. So those are the essential, the fundamental realities that will continue to happen even after the pandemic, and we'll have a need for a third telco.
All right. Next question from Arya Zain. Will Dito company be affected by the implementation of 100% foreign ownership And how will this affect the price and its market share? Would like to answer?
Please.
All right, Sir Jojo.
Oh no. Okay. I was waiting for Eric to answer. Okay.
All right.
That's fine. That's fine. Well, the PSA, the way it is currently worded, although it's not yet enacted into law, so hopefully it will get enacted into law, is a benefit to the whole industry. It's not just to Dito Tel, but to every telco that's operating, because it basically opens up the investment to foreigners. So you had, sorry, could you show the question again? So the other question was how would it affect the stock price? I think is the question. Uh,
Yeah, will Dito come?
yeah, the effect on the price. Well, actually, it should not have any because remember the stock price is a function of law of supply and demand. So for as long as the company does not sell any more shares, then, or rather, let me put it this way: the dilution effect of selling more shares into the market, of course, will have an effect on its price. But remember that is also tied into the valuation or the expectation of the performance of that company somewhere down the road. So there's a balance that goes out between the supply side, which is the number of shares. In other words, if you sell more shares, then you increase the supply, and the demand side, which is where people will believe that whether your valuation is going to increase or decrease. Right? I mean, that's a basic fundamental principle of investment in the stock market. So the opening up of the company to 100% foreign ownership, which, by the way, I need to emphasize, there are two companies we're talking about here, and sometimes people get confused. I assume you're referring to Dito Tel, meaning Dito Telecommunity, which is the operating company, which is not listed. All right, the listed entity is Dito CME, who we are representing at the moment. So, as far as Dito CME is concerned, the opening up of the 100% foreign ownership simply allows the company to have more options in generating, let's say, another capital raising exercise, or even this one for that matter, in the SRO, although the law is not yet in effect. But had the law been in effect, then in theory, foreign companies would probably have reconsidered coming in because of the restriction, can now consider. So again, we go back to the point about law of supply and demand. By opening it up to 100% foreign, in theory, you're opening up the demand to a bigger market.
All right. Thank you, sir. Yeah, but it's good that you have mentioned about the Dito Telecommunity versus the Dito CME, which holds the particular company, telecom company. All right. Next question from Dennis J. Toribio. Is Dito negotiating with Starlink to cater remote areas of the country? Is there a timeline to that negotiation?
I'm assuming you're referring to Dito Telecommunity.
Yeah, I think so too.
Unfortunately, I'm the CFO, so I'm not familiar with the operational side to that detail. I'm not familiar with Starlink. I'm not even sure what it is. So maybe you can give some background on the question, and maybe I can probably try to answer it better.
All right. So just a reminder to the audience that we have right now, what the SRO is about the Dito CME. The telecoms just happens to be part of Dito CME. All right. So next question.
But China, I
Yeah.
can answer it. I mean, I can answer things about Dito
Okay.
Tel. It's just that because
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not familiar with Starlink specifically. So
Okay.
if the question can be clarified more into what aspect, I'm not even sure if we're negotiating with Starlink. So that's the point.
All
But
right.
I don't even. But I think the question is whether we're going to cater to the remote areas of the country. So I need some context to that question. Are you
Specificity,
referring
yeah.
to data, mobile connectivity?
Okay. So Dennis, just let us know what specific thing that you're asking. But Sir Eric, yes, Sir Eric.
Let me try to take a stab at the question. I don't know if there is any negotiations ongoing with Starlink. I suppose that's the satellite broadband satellite transmission company. But we do have ongoing negotiations with other satellite companies that can deliver backhaul to broadband in the country. The Philippines is a how they call it the second largest archipelago in the world, no? And certainly fiber and not even cellular can reach the very edges of all the islands that are populated in the country. And in a number of cases, even with the incumbents, they resort to satellite backhaul, no, to be able to reach these footprints, no. Now, just some limitations. The available satellite technology today cannot deliver the same throughput speeds, no, as would fiber or 4G and more so 5G technologies. And second, there's a matter of cost. Now, the market for the target market for satellite backhaul are more enterprises. I would say like banks operating in the countryside that are at the far edges, rural banks, thrift banks. And another good example are mining companies and healthcare establishments that need to have connectivity but are not within the footprint of either fixed or cellular networks of telecoms.
All right. So just let us know, Dennis, the one asking, if you have a follow-up question about it. All right, let's move on to the next question, please. From Rain, can you share the short-term to medium-term goal for Dito in terms of market share?
Maybe I can take a stab at that. Okay, let me start off with the long-term goal. I think the long-term goal, which is the basis of why the company entered into this space to begin with, is to be a major player. In other words, we did not come in here to be Ditotel did not come in to be a niche player or to be a third player, although we are the third telco, right? But the same way that if you ask Globe or Smart, are you okay to be the number two player? I mean, to be the second player? Of course, they'll say, no, we want to be number one. And if you go through history, you'll see that's been ping-ponging between PLDT, Smart, and Globe. No? Some years it's Globe's number one. Some years it's PLDT, and so on and so forth. Same thing goes, let's say, with networks before, like ABC, EBN, and GMA, right? So the purpose and the strategy of Ditotel is no different. The intention is to be eventually is to be a dominant player also in the industry. If we came in with the intention of simply being content with being 30% or 1/3 of the market, then that would be, I think, selling the shareholders short. So that answers not medium, but the long term. Now, medium and short will be a matter of gaining market share. And it is a function of our ability to build the network. It's almost physics. You cannot sell to subscribers where there is no signal or where there is insufficient capacity. So it is directly related to the number of towers that you build. By the way, this is also true for the incumbents. No? In fact, that's the reason why people have been, in the past, if you will recall, people were complaining about poor quality, and the excuse of not the excuse, but the explanation of the two telcos was that it's a matter of capacity. So which means that if you don't build more capacity, and I think a study has been made, so I think we're already belaboring the point. I mean, it's already been stated many times that we are under-towered, so to speak. So this is actually related to your first question, is that what makes you think we'll be able to compete? Well, easy, I'll build more towers. The fact is already, again, law of supply and demand, right? Demand is higher than the supply of capacity. Now we're talking about capacity. So obviously, and related to also what Neri said, is that there is room for the third telco, because obviously the two telcos have not, it would seem, been able to provide the capacity necessary to give good quality service to the customers, I mean, to the Filipinos. So ergo, a third telco is needed if only to add to that capacity. We are so under capacity at the moment. So on that basis alone, there will almost be a direct correlation between the number of towers, I guess, if you want to call it that, number of towers, and to the extent of our network, and in relation to that, the growth of the subscriber base. So it's really almost a tied relationship.
All right. I think. Okay, Sir Eric.
Just to add to what Jojo said, in comparison, let's take another peer comparison country like Vietnam. Almost the same population, 100 million people. But Vietnam has over 70,000 cellular towers serving their population. No? In the Philippines, the combined cellular towers in service, commercial service today, combined Smart Globe and Dito is less than 30,000. So ways to go.
Thank you, Sir Eric, for that. Marami pang chances. And then there's I also like, and I picked up the one that when you said law of supply and demand, and that there's still a lot of avenue for growth. Let's move on. Next question, please, from Alvin Digal. How many towers are you targeting in your first 5 years of operation, since connectivity is the biggest problem, especially in rural areas?
Let me take a stab, and then maybe Jojo can add to that. The Let's just put this as a minimum guideline that the Dito telecommunity is the only telco that is subjected to annual technical audits. No? And the two technical audit hurdles are: number one, speed of a minimum of 55 Mbps, no? Which is not a problem because a mobile network is a shared network, and it's simple physics that when we fire up the network and you're the only a few are using it on the startup, you'll probably get a lot of the bandwidth juice that's coming out of that network. And the first two technical audits will show you that we're hitting close to 90 Mbps and far surpassing the minimum average speed hurdle. Now, the challenge really is the crux of it, as Jojo implied with his answer earlier on a similar subject, is really the network rollout. The regulator requires Dito telecommunity to roll out in sequence for the next 5 years. The first year, 37% coverage. Second year, 51% coverage. Third year, which is this year, 70% population coverage. The fourth year, 80% population coverage. And on the fifth year, minimum 84% population coverage. As you know, we have already surpassed the first two audits. And this year, the telco senior management tells us they have full confidence that by the third audit in June or July of this year, they are confident that they will meet the 70% population coverage. Now, if at 50 today, as we stand, we're about, I would say, 55% population coverage with about 4,000 towers. Now, given that kind of progression, if you just do reverse engineer the math, you would see that on the fifth year, depending on the population density, we would have something like 8,500 to 9,000 towers, which brings us to toe-to-toe competition with the incumbents, with the capability to deliver, a state-of-the-art superior service, because our network would be way newer, 4G, 5G network without any legacy. That is the proposition of the new telco. Joe, if you may have anything else to add.
Yeah, maybe I can just answer the question more directly, no? Since he's asking a very pointed question, how many towers? Okay, let me put it this way. Let's talk about numbers. We built 2,000 towers in 2021. That's already a Philippine record. And the intention is to build as fast, if not faster. So, what is the limitation to us building now? The motivation, I think Eric already mentioned. I think as far as the motivation for us to build as many towers as possible is already there. And by the way, he forgot that to mention that not only are we subjected to a technical audit, but we're the only telco that has a performance bond that is at risk should we fail the audit. So I think that's the more painful and more important motivator. So that's having said that. Now, as far as the number is concerned, as I said, this is a fact. We've built more than 2,000 towers already. For 2022, the intention is to build as many, if not more, than another 2,000. Obviously, we're trying to, and by the way, that was in the middle of the pandemic. So you have to understand that and when I say at the beginning of the pandemic, people were still grappling with how to handle it. We were the most, everybody, not just we were the most, but everybody was disorganized. There were quarantine areas that were not being uniformly addressed. notwithstanding the fact that we were supposed to be exempted because we're an essential service. And then, when you go there and you start building the tower, you find out wala ka na semento. You have no more cement, you have no more rebars because the companies that were supplying all of those were closed. And notwithstanding the fact that you're exempted, nobody wanted to go to work because everybody was scared to get infected. So you have to understand that those 2,000 towers will build in that kind of scenario. Now, I'd like to think that maybe we've adjusted and we've sort of settled down. Obviously, the virus is still around, and I think it'll be here for quite a while. But I think people have made adjustments. So we're bullish that we'll probably be able to build more than 2,000 this year and every year thereafter. So the intention is to build as fast as we can. There is no limiting factor, particularly as far as capital is concerned. I mean, that's another discussion, but in most cases they'll say, oh, we have a budget, we can only build up to within the budget. Well, no, there is no limit to how many towers we can build other than the physical limitation that has I think been mentioned earlier, that it takes so many permits, you need to work with local government and all the I think everybody's familiar with this, right? The limitation is not the capital. The limitation is actually the time and motion it takes to build the tower. So the fact that we've been able to build 2,000 says that it's likely that more than likely we will build more than 2,000 every year. So the answer to Alvin's question is more mathematical, but then it's all theoretical until we're able to build the actual number. So every year, obviously, and it will be part of the NTC audit, is that that data will come out. It's not like we're keeping it a secret.
That's
I'm
very
sorry,
impressive.
answer as close.
It's all right, sir. I was imagining the time that you were building the 2,000 towers at the height of the pandemic. I mean, how can you? I have actually a question about that in the second part, but I want to ask it now. How do you balance the welfare of your employees and also, the to making sure that your targets are met in the height when there's no vaccine yet existing, and people are still scared, and you are building the towers and you have hit the target on time. So can you tell us, and I'm curious to know personally.
Well,
Well,
fortunately,
go ahead, Eric.
Well, fortunately, looking at on hindsight, we don't have much cases, no, even if the vaccines were not there. At the fast pace, we have rolled out the network. Now, the other thing there is that there is no close physical contact when you're building the towers. No? It's not in the, you get, when you look at the site acquisition, right, you look at the vantage point where the signals can be projected to as wide the population as possible. It doesn't necessarily mean that the people are there, no? So it's some sort of an area where you don't expose the people to high density foot traffic where they can get infected. No? Third, the time of the pandemic, ironically, is a good time because there was less traffic and less people
Yeah.
outside the homes, and that added to the pace by which the rollout came to such a record pace. Um, there are other factors that actually allowed for such speed in rollout. First, the government must be credited also by coming up with new guideline regulations within the national and local government to fast track permits, no, that actually go in the way of hindering faster rollout. No? So that has improved drastically, and hopefully that will continue. That kind of urgency, sense of urgency to support telco rollout because it serves the best interest of Filipino consumers will continue. As a last note, more internally, the technical know-how and experience and expertise of our partner China Telecom that has rolled out latest in technologies 4G and 5G in their home country, no, add to that the dynamic and young technical pool in Dito Tel, complementing that pool actually allowed for such record-breaking pace of the rollout.
Okay, thanks,
Yeah,
sir. That's good to know.
yeah.
Another, you want to answer, Jojo?
No, Gina, I'm going to answer your question more directly. How did we keep the people from getting sick? Well, a number of things. Number one is that we obviously had to invest in better security. So the allowances, so to speak, for, let's say, medical staff ensure that in the testing is done more regularly. There was no choice. And then, of course, we had to closet, no, the workers. They were actually closeted. We paid for their housing. Normally, they would just go home of their own. So no, this time hindi pwede. No? If you're building in a tower, that early on, we already had to sort of contain the workers so that they remain as a bubble. So things like this, I mean, it was really just, I guess, force of circumstances make you creative, and you just have to figure out a way of keeping everybody safe. But at the end of the day, remember, the intent, the motive to build those towers was also financial, because remember, most of these workers, no work, no pay yan.
Yes.
So from the workers' perspective, they were willing to take, be away from their families, closeted there for months also, because they realized that it was either that or they go home to their families and they have no work. So work was done at a frenetic pace. In fact, it was only limited when we ran out of supplies. The workers themselves were not a problem. The workers were on the site. But the delays, there were delays, obviously, so we could have done more than 2,000. We're really more from a logistics and a supply perspective.
That's really nice to hear. The reason why I'm asking this, Sir Jojo, Sir Eric, Miss Nerys, and Donald, is because the essence of TouchBase is for people to know the train of thought of those who are deciding in this company, and it's really nice to know that you are taking care about the welfare of your employees, and which would I like to segue that we are also live in Udena Facebook page. Hi to all those followers, subscribers of Udena, and also this is shared to the Dito Talag community. Ayan. So I can see some of the comments. Some are Dito user here that are watching us, and I think they can attest to the effectivity of the product. Ayan, you can comment in the comment section below how fast and the experience of your Dito experience. Ayan. So all right, so next question. When is Dito broadband service be available for the public? I think a lot of people are excited about this, especially if there are, they like the service that you're giving them with those SIM cards that they have.
Short answer,
Let me
very soon.
and a follow through short answer. Broadband can be delivered in many phases. Mobile broadband, the way if you put a 4G SIM, no, into a smartphone, you're already getting broadband. I think what they're referring to is the alternative broadband that you deliver to the home on fixed wireless, and that's the answer of Jojo. Very soon.
I can't help but notice yung clarity ng video ni Sir Eric. Are you using the Dito right now? Are you using your phone right now? Or
I'm trying all sources and secret. I have to try also providers, and obviously when there's a signal here and I get through very well, it's simply because the startup network is a clear network.
Okay, let's move on to the next. I was just curious because ang ganda ng camera ni Sir Eric. All right, next question. I think we have two more left before we move on to the second part. Not unless we still have a lot of questions from the audience. So, Romulo Ibiernas, who are your partners in supplying the 5G services? I mean, is your company solely generating the 5G, or do you have other partners who provide them for you?
Well, first of all, there is no 5G commercial service yet. The plan is to roll out 5G, no? And that's where the promise and the mission of Dito lies. What we're having now are brand new standalone 4G network, state of the art, and there is no telco in the world that can generate their own 4G or 5G mobile service without resorting to what you call that strategic partners and suppliers. No? Now, on that note, very quickly, over the last 10 years, beginning with 4G and now in 5G technologies, you can see that the Chinese vendors have actually pulled their lead in terms of providing the new technologies of 4G and 5G, owing to the substantial investments they made on R&D that allowed them to deliver these technologies to telco providers in the world with the latest in capacity, performance, and price points. No? Now, save for those that have banned China, no, for political reasons, most of the telcos operating the world have resorted to Chinese vendors, and you know who they are: Huawei, ZTE, Fiber Home, as a leading provider of their telco. The Philippine incumbent telcos included.
Ayan. So, who's the one who's asking? I forgot. Ayan, okay. From Romulo Ibiernas. Ayan. I hope we answered your question. Next, let's move on so we can have more. From Jose Lenny Solidum. When does Dito project to book a net profit?
Yep.
Okay, I guess that's for me to
CFO.
answer, right?
Yes.
So, okay. First off, I have to say that I am constrained from giving projections. No? So, because otherwise I'm going to get, Dito CME will get a nice love letter from the Philippine Stock Exchange about this violating disclosure rules. Now, what I can say is that typically a telco or any company of this magnitude where capex is a major resource, no, that is needed. We're more capex than opex. Being a service, we're not producing anything. Typically, the turnaround time is between 3 to 5 years.
3 to 5 years. Ayan. So, which is the normal cycle of a new business naman,
Yes.
Jose. Yeah, that's right. Okay,
Now,
sir.
can I just quickly relate that to, because we are the majority owner and we're the listed company, can I just link that to the stock price? And we don't anticipate, as Jojo rightly pointed out, being a startup of this capex magnitude business segment, no? You don't expect us to make a profit turn within the time frame that typically a telco, startup telco does within 3 to 5 years. Meantime, as articulated earlier, more and more assets are being put on the ground to build that capability, no, on a day-to-day basis. 2,000 towers per year, that translates, and that pace continues, as Jojo articulated earlier, that has no let up until we achieve our mission to be truly a worthy, if not superior, player in the Philippine telco space. Now, from that time, when you look at the stock, when you look at the profit, you're really after dividend payout. Maybe that's not a realistic expectation. No? But what we're really expecting is that the market will appreciate the capital that's being put on the ground, the assets that are being put on the ground, and that this translates to an appreciation as well in the value of the stock because of capital appreciation.
Yeah. So, let's proceed to the next. Mr. Romulo Ibiernas again. How is your company directed towards climate change? So this is one of the.
Right. How is your?
Is it
I
connected?
don't know exactly what the.
Kaya nga eh.
Maybe
So,
maybe I can make my
Maybe
comment.
relate?
yeah.
Can't really answer. I guess typically I think the way I interpret the question, I think this is more appropriately directed to manufacturing companies, no, where you burn fossil fuels that affects climate change. We are selling something that's actually in the air. No? It's a service. There is no, we're not selling. Well, okay, to a certain degree, we're selling SIMs, right? We're not even selling handsets, by the way, in case you noticed. Unlike the two telcos, we are not selling any devices for that matter. But so as far as contributing to the climate change, we're not really contributing anything. We're not burning anything other than the usual electricity that we're consuming. Now, having said that, our office, for example, is at the Udena Tower, no? And the Udena Tower is a lead certified building, which means that it's a green building. So maybe for lack of any other, uh, I guess that's our small contribution to reducing climate change.
And we
Well,
have
okay. No, I just realized that there's another one. Operationally, I guess one can argue, and this was not raised, so it's a good time to raise it. We have envisioned ourselves to be a digital company, so which means that we are not following the playbook of the two telcos, whereby the distribution network is traditional brick and mortar. You're talking about stores, showrooms, the one selling the load, and all of that. No, so we do not. I mean, we also have, of course, our own physical network, but it pales. It pales in comparison to the existing retail network of the two incumbents. And by the way, the intention is not to even match what they're doing. So it will never be to the scale that Smart and Globe already have their own physical network, which means that we're doing to the extent possible. We're trying to push everything to digital and online. Now, one can argue that if it's done online, then you need less of the physical activities. People need to move around less. Then I guess cumulatively you're contributing less to also the ozone depletion. I guess it is my
Yes.
2 cents worth.
Just to add to what Jojo said, we're basically a digital company, and the pandemic has showed you that digital solutions enable new lifestyles that is cost-effective, convenient, and safe, without going to legacy brick and mortar face to face. So a lot less movement, and to Jojo's point, there's less carbon footprint, and more and more of these solutions will happen without sacrifice of productivity or economic productivity, or alongside that economic what you call that capability to livelihood. In fact, it will accelerate further opportunities for livelihood.
Agreed.
This
All
this
right.
this event alone is already an example, right? We didn't have to
Yeah.
travel to have this, so we just saved that much in terms of pollution and in terms of
Resources.
carbon monoxide.
Yes. And I think the SIM cards are it's made of plastic. I think siguro it's part of that, and also I think something that talks about yung connecting the 5G signal to health issues probably is
Quick,
pertaining about
quick
that.
question. There is absolutely no scientific evidence that 5G causes health issues. More
Ayan.
so, there is no truth, and no empirical evidence to show that 5G combined with the vaccines will cause people to be zombies. No? So,
Ayan.
quick answer. There is no
Ayan.
empirical
Good
evidence.
thing. Sir Eric pointed that out. Probably may mga nahihiyang audience to ask
So
that. And
please take your vaccines. Let's be responsible to one another. Yeah.
we,
Let's listen
ayan.
to science.
Ayan. So, do we have any more questions so we can move on to ask our guests today for some parting words with regard to their SRO before we proceed to the part two of this event? I've learned so much. Actually, I've seen lunatics, and it's really interesting for me. The Internet of Things is also interesting to me. Like I honestly have just found out all of the other, which is the academy. Also is also it's interesting to know that there is a school, an online school, which in the height of the pandemic, lahat naka-online, and I guess is this something that is already ongoing also with your digital platform?
Well, actually,
The,
for Luna, we saw a lot of people in fact, we were surprised that the first few who took up the courses were from abroad. They are
mm,
engineers, they're talagang professionals, and then they're upskilling themselves. And then when we interview them, sabi niya, well, just in case pinabalik kami ng boss namin, we have other skills that we can use. So
and
very fascinating, no?
I'm just curious to know what course is the most the bestseller kumbaga, sir.
Uh, well, right
If you
now, of course, the certificated ones. So it
Mhm.
goes without saying the basic certificates coming from Microsoft, coming from
Mm.
Amazon, Alibaba. These are the tech courses. So we have our 60% of our courses, around close to 70 would be tech courses. And these are certificates, no? So ibig sabihin, when you come back to the Philippines and you have these Microsoft certifications, it's very easy for you to find a job because these are very specific skills, very specific
Yeah.
IT skills. The others
So
are software. So meron
the
kaming Endeavor, meron kaming
certification
Linux
is coming
courses.
from Microsoft, not
Correct.
from the academy. Ayan, it's
Luna
good to know,
Academy
guys.
is correct. So we're like parang Netflix. We're a platform provider. We partner with all the content creators, which is of course the schools and the tech companies and everyone else. So we're the platform. We partner with all the educational institutions.
All right. So
Right.
guys, it's not
So
just about the telecoms. They also have these cool things in store for us, and I think we will be seeing a lot of that in the coming days. And the platforms that you presented a while ago is really tying up with a very familiar brand, if I may say. How about
And
the
as the
Lunina? Yes.
and as the world becomes ever more digital, everybody needs, all of us need to upskill ourselves to keep pace.
And that's really interesting because in the US, the ones that are growing, the stocks that are rising are mostly on the tech companies, diba? It's even Netflix alone and Zoom. Those are the stocks that skyrocketed during the pandemic, and it's parehas kayo kumbaga ng genre. Yan. So, so we would like to thank our panel this afternoon. It's really entertaining and educational. If there's one thing that I want to ask all of you, just a one sentence answer, and you can also part some words to our audience, those who are investing in general, and also would be subscribing to the SRO. Um, what is it that inspires you to promote with all the products that you have? Ano yung one thing that you are really inspired to promote personally, being the executive of Dito CME? What's that brand and why? Uh, what excites you in that brand? Si Sir Eric, wag na yan kasi ano ko siya eh. Interrogate siya. Joke.
Dami mong questions sa akin
Interview
mamaya.
yan mamaya. So it's just from Mr. Reese, Sir Donald, and Sir Jojo this afternoon. Who can probably start? Mr. Reese?
Um, ladies first.
Yes.
Ako, I have always been, innovation has always been my source of passion. Eh. So what motivates me is really there's a gap to be bridged, not only in terms of broadband connectivity, but in terms of enabling digital lifestyle and transforming the enterprises in the Philippines to be more digitally enabled. So that motivates us, not just me, but I guess the whole organization to really put ourselves forward to be an option to the other incumbents, not just the telco, but the other digital service providers in the country and in the world. So yun, I guess that's what inspires us, enabling not just Filipinos, the consumers, but most specific, but also equally important, the Filipino enterprises to be more digital.
Yeah, ang ganda. Digitally enabled. I like that term. How about Sir Donald?
Ako personal advocacy ko talaga is that I really believe that a Filipino and Filipino organizations can be world class, can be globally competitive. We just need to have the right tools. And so far we've seen no that the internet digital can really bring us there no. Ngayon naiiwan tayo, we're being left behind. But if we are armed ourselves, we are the most creative, we're the most social savvy, you give a Filipino anything in the world, they will be able to create. They will be able to do a lot of things. Eh. So all of us, so what we're doing right now is what inspires us is really that we know we can help drive the Filipino forward and to make every Filipino a global citizen. Someone that is really truly competitive, no, and a country that we can be proud of. No, we just need to arm them properly.
Nice. Di ba kayo na-inspire? Just click, nandito ako para ma-inspire in the comment section if you are inspired with the things that you've been hearing today. And last, Sir Jojo?
Well, what inspires me, I'm more basic. No? I mean, for me, as a consumer, okay, it has been extremely frustrating to use the services in this country. I mean, we're talking about the mobile services. No? I've traveled to my businesses in business travels, and when you see the kind of speeds that are being enjoyed in other countries, even countries like Vietnam. No? I mean, we're talking about 10 years ago, I was in Vietnam, and they were already doing streaming, and we couldn't even do 5 Mbps, barely. So what inspires me is the fact that we now have a situation where you have a company that has both the political will to do what it takes and the resources to do what it takes. So I think with that, we can truly give what the Filipinos deserve.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. If I wish we have more time Maybe we can have a collaboration since it's a digital and we are a digital platform as well. Thank you so much for it's good to have you here in the segment.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Okay. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, guys, and those who are watching, I know that you have learned about this SRO, but later on, we will interview Sir Eric with regards to the corporate side and the personal side, getting to know more of the person behind the decision making, behind the brand. And with that, you will be able to fundamentally learn a lot of things from the decision maker himself. Ayan. So let's see the part two of this event. All right. So I'll be calling on screen again. Sir Eric Alberto. Ayan. Hi,
Hi,
sir.
China. Dito ako kinakabahan. Oo, this portion.
Why? You don't have to. Just with the things that you know, it's just sharing the things that you know to us. And the first part of our question, of our interview, is actually more on the corporate side, and then we will get to know you afterwards. This is something that is likely, probably interesting to our audience, and I'm personally curious to know about it. When the Sun Cellular entered the market, I was amazed by how they built their brand through their advertising campaigns. Starting off with the Rising Sun, I don't know if you guys remember it, which piqued our curiosity. And they did this because they knew that they were going to compete with the giants. And news articles mentioned that they have achieved 1.5 million subscribers after 2 years. And we all know that the social media at that time is not yet that rampant, not like today. So as for Dito's case, the company seems to achieve 2.6 million, if I believe if that's right, subscribers in a much lesser time without a grand format advertising campaign. What do you think?
5.3.
Oh, five point
5.3
three. I'm
at
sorry, five
after
point
10
three
months.
million subscribers. So, sir, what strategy do you think has hit today's market, considering that it's really fast in a short period of time?
Interesting question, China, and thank you for that. It harks me back to my 20-year experience in senior management in the telco industry. Now, when you look at the Sun Cellular, that was in the late 2000, kailan ba yan? Mga 2007, 8, nung
Yeah,
nag-umpisa
I was
sila.
3 years old then, sir. Just kidding.
Yeah, perhaps. No? Those times are different. Talk and text ruled the day. No, traditional talk, voice, and text. When text was still 1 peso per text, if you remember. Well, you were too young, but text at one point, believe it or not, was 1 peso per text, and that was a very rich margin business, because the network that you, as you rightly pointed out, is just a simple, plain old telephone mobile system that does not stream data without the vivid experience
With
of
limited characters.
with limited. And if you look at the technology of text is the early days data. No? It's a 1 second burst. What do you call that? They call it in the technical term 1 second Erlang consumption over the network. Now look at the kind of data that we're using today. We've been at it for nearly over an hour now of live streaming with very vivid, high definition video, no, and voice. That's far-reaching, far-reaching all over the world. Doesn't really matter if you're based in the Philippines or not. I see that you have audience. Two different scenarios. Second, I remember the hark back, and no offense meant to Sun. No? The proposition of Sun in disrupting that market, because the pricing of text was very high. It's really price. They gave unlimited text offer without providing good service. And that was not a sustainable model. No? As you know, we all know what happened to Sun. It was a few years after that. After generating a subscriber base, they were bought out by the incumbent, no? And the rest is history. But there was truth to tell on the jokes at the time, and this is not from me, no? Yung Sun Cellular at that time, sabi na kaya Sun yung branding yan, it only works when you're under the sun. If you're
Oh
inside,
yeah, I heard that.
indoors,
Yeah, I remember
di
that.
ba? Hindi ako nag-invento niyan. But that actually is reflective of the market perception that the quality was sacrificed in favor of a strategy for price point. Obviously, that's very far from Dito's objective, principally because the market has changed and the sophistication of the demands for telecommunication. If let me erase that, it's no longer just telco. The digital services that the market demands of right now is far more complex than the talk and text days of before. And certainly, it's not going to be a sustainable model if you do a short-term price proposition, drop the price, without you being able to generate a sustainable campaign by which you could provide long-term quality services to your consumer publics.
All right. So that's I mean, that's very insightful, Sir Eric. And you can really see probably it's something that will also, it gives us also an understanding of the difference with regards to the marketing during that time and the marketing these days. But okay, second question. With your competitive plans for client segment C and D, how would you make sure that you maintain your margins? I think investors would really love to know about this.
Well, I think the short answer is we're not going into a price war. No? We entered this business to have not only simple profits in mind, but if you look at the dynamism of how technologies change, technology changes right now are more rapid in dynamism. You've seen the industry go from analog to 2G digital to 3G to 4G, and now it's going to 5G. No? And God knows where the technology will lead to. No? Particularly in the realities of fast rising developments in technology. This has been talked about a few years before, but it's seeing reality now on artificial intelligence, machine learning, and the Internet of Things. No? Where
Yeah.
you find a lot of devices interconnected, all towards changing lifestyles to the benefit of humankind. That's going to happen. And that will dictate continuous heavy capex and investments on technology. No? And certainly a short-sighted price war plan or strategy to quickly win over market share. No? What good is it that you win 30, 40, 50% of market share? That's good only for 1 or 2 years. Certainly not a very compelling plan for any player that seeks sustainability um, and sticking to the true mission of providing sustainable long-term quality services to its clientele.
Okay. Sir, with regards to, we have presented the different types of companies and the products under Dito CME. I'm just wondering, what's your vision for the next 5 years
Which vision? Dito CME or the Dito Tel?
in the Dito CME as a whole? Because
Dito
the
CME, true to what Donald presented earlier, we would like to be a premier enabler, digital enabler for the Philippine market and for Filipinos, no? In whatever shape or form that it is evolving today. And our investments today, first with the brand new state-of-the-art 4G, 5G network, is a step in that right direction because the digital highway cannot be fulfilled without the necessary infrastructure that would deliver the applications that bring forth digital solutions and lifestyles. Second, the investments that we have in Luna Academy, Acuity Global, and Unalytics that enable enterprises to understand their more digital savvy customers are also consistent with that direction to be a leading premier digital enabler for the Philippine market for both consumers and enterprises. So that's the vision for 5 years and perhaps even beyond.
So, sir, if someone is talking about dito, for example, a conversation between two friends, what do you want people to remember or what will be on top of mind? Siguro andito telecoms na lang, to be specific. What what do you want, how do you want them to remember the brand?
Uh, as we stand right now on a very short one, that it is the principal catalyst that actually improved the services of telco in the Philippines, because by our mere announcement, even without commercial launch, the incumbents actually, thankfully, had actually accelerated their own plans in improving their networks and quality of services to the public. That this is now, significantly better than what it was 3, 4 years ago, no? Which is really the very reason why Dito Telecommunity or the third telco came into relevance in the first place, no? So that it is the, how they call it, the disruptor that created for positive change in the market. And over the longer term, that it is a very compelling provider of digital enabler, no, for Filipinos. That will, as Donald alluded to earlier, that would fully optimize and exploit the potential of every Filipino to be global class citizens.
Sir, you've mentioned about the, being, making sure that you are delivering the best service. How do you prepare for your business continuity plan, just in case something went south? This is to ensure your clients or service satisfaction,
You
to
know,
your
when I
clients.
when I took my postgraduate studies in economics, my professor, I can't forget this. No, um, having a bad plan is better than not planning at all. Now, uh, segue to fast forward to the technology, fast-paced whirlwind technology and digital environment that we have today. This is where digital solutions and tools come into play. And adopting, the faster you adopt to these digital tools, no? Digital tools such as data analytics, no? That allow for you to insight and take a temperature, a faster and more agile temperature check of what the market wants and needs, even before they are actually wanting it, to be able to have that management predictive ability to what the customers need, being a step ahead, is what is will actually put you into a better, how they call it, competitive shape in terms of your planning exercise. And this is what our analytics is doing right now for our own companies, and for the many, particularly medium-sized companies that don't have the, how they call it, financial resources to deploy, what you call that, full-based analytical capabilities. We're trying to bring that to the market now with these tools, no, of artificial intelligence, machine learning. This kind of tools will help management come up with the correct decisions, more accurate decisions in a more agile way. So that's, planning should be there, but in the digital age, you should prepare to fail and fail fast, and be able to adjust your bearings and shift your strategies based on the data that's available, using the tools, available tools that technology already provides us today.
All right. So it's something that is, I think it's very humbling to hear from you, sir, that it's not that all of your decision is right. It's just that if you fail something, you will fail fast. I think that is something that is really need to take that we need to take note of, even if
Also,
in
having said that, prayers also count, because at the end of the
yeah,
day, there are things that man cannot just control.
out
So
of
you
your
leave it
control.
to a higher divine providence to bless all your good intention undertakings.
Wow, that's very inspiring to hear. Ayan, nakikilala nyo na yung the face behind dito, CME, and I've been liking what I'm hearing. With sir, next question for the the biggest hurdles naman. I know that coming into a dual play market, and I know for a fact that there are a lot of challenges and hurdles that you're encountering. Can you share with us, if possible, if only possible, what are the biggest hurdles or the most memorable hurdles or challenges that you are seeing before uh, you started this project, and that you are seeing that you want to make sure that you won't encounter?
I think my colleagues already enumerated basically the biggest challenge for a challenger player, and that's the element of time. We've got to roll out a network, right? This brand new network as fast as we could so that we can compete toe to toe with the incumbents. It took the incumbents what? They've been existing 30 years or more, in the mobile space. And we're a newcomer. And for us to really create that dent, the speed is not an issue. Every time we roll out the network, you can see that we can provide superior uh, class speed experience for the customer. It's really the footprint where you're available. And if you're dealing with mobile, if you don't have a complete footprint, it's not quite a complete telco as yet, right? So time is the biggest challenge that Dito is, at least the telco is seeing today. It's not so much as Jojo had said, no? As far as the telco is concerned, not the Dito CME, but the partnership in the telco with China Telecom as partner. It's not the available technology. It's not even the funding, no? That I think the CFO of has mentioned time and again that the funding is already in place, no? That will allow us to fulfill or at least the minimum 5-year rollout of the network. But certainly time and providence, no? The environment, which is you don't have any control, uh, is something, the unknown, so to speak, are the major challenges. Other than that, yeah, it's just a matter of time that, God willing, the mission of Dito to be a formidable player would see fruition.
All right. Sir, if I may ask, quite medyo ano siya controversial question, but it's because I picked it up from the 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 joke that came about with Sun Cellular before na kapag may araw lang may signal. But this time, in terms of, sabi nila when you buy something from China, it might how do you secure the subscribers about the that they are safe in terms of subscribing, that their confidential, I mean yung the privacy is intact in terms of getting or subscribing with Dito Telecommunity.
Interesting question. First, no, as far as the Chinese technology is concerned, they're not only how they call it. Even the incumbents are widely using Chinese technology because, as I mentioned earlier, these are leading leading providers of the latest 4G, 5G mobile technologies in the world right now. No? Particularly in the last 10 years, the performance of Chinese technologies in mobile and even in fixed, no, has already challenged, no, and are pulling away from the traditional Western providers. I need not name them; you know who they are, and the performance as well as the price points are actually quite compelling, which is why a lot of the most of the telcos in the world, barring any political or barrier, are utilizing Chinese technologies. As far as data privacy, I mean, there are existing laws, and Dito certainly are like any other responsible corporate citizen, do not violate, will not attempt to violate. For what reason? Why do we have to snoop in any of our subscribers? It's absurd. No, there is absolutely no benefit for us to do that. No? Having said that, there is the one I smile about. Every time you sign into a digital app and you consent to that fine print
The
about
fine
giving
print, yes.
your data, right? I did
Yes.
not mention who they are. The social media applications. If you're not paying for any service and you're benefiting from that service, I would like to say that you're the product, right? You've actually allowed these companies to actually allow them access to your data in exchange for these services, right?
I agree to that, sir. I
Not
think it's just an
there's no
elephant
free
in the
lunch.
room. It's just the elephant in the room that I think they're scared to ask you. But yeah, so there you have it. But the corporate part is done. Now we want to get to know you as a boss, probably as a person growing up. I mean, you there are things that the decisions that we make now is because of the things that we have learned, and you mentioned a while ago your professor that you have never forgotten, and I think those are the little things that make who you are today? And for the first question, sir, with regards to your people, how do you reward a good idea? I mean, because you are in a digital company and ideas are coming in and they're fast, and whoever comes first is the one that's going to be benefiting from it. How do you reward a good idea if you see that that idea is good?
How do you reward? You don't reward the good idea. You reward the person, right? And how do you reward that person? As is in any carrot, no, in any enterprise or any social setting, you give him more trust and confidence, and you expand his what you call that scope by which his talent and his ideas can further be exploited into good use. Consequently, by giving him more room, you're actually basically promoting him and giving him, the attendant rewards for such good ideas and hard work. Yeah.
Sir, next question. What do you consider to be your biggest achievement, not your whole life, but just in the past 2 years? Because this is the most
My biggest
challenging.
my biggest achievement the past 2 years is my ability to regain and putting first my relationships with people, starting with my family, my children, who I've been working hard in the bank and in the corporate life, and I pretty much missed seeing them grow up. And I'm glad that their mother had brought them up pretty well to be responsible, grown-up adults and citizens of the world. And I'm relishing the fact that I have been given the chance to reestablish stronger relationships with my children, and so with my also some friends that I have missed out because I've been busy in the corporate world. I think this pandemic has rearranged the mental priorities that we have, and without sacrificing productivity and work. I think I would say that the biggest achievement to me is to put higher regard with my relationships with other people, starting with my circle of influence and affection.
Sir, I like actually I've been interviewing CEOs and presidents, and I find it so. I mean, it's so thrilling to know that whenever I ask them of their achievement, it always boils down to something closer home, which is the family, the close ties, and which brings me to in terms of work life balance. How do you unwind? I mean, how do you distress in terms of from a very hectic schedule, especially in the pre-pandemic days? Probably now you have discovered something like probably a hobby or a sport. How do you unwind or distress?
Those people who know me from years know that I'm a motorhead. I tinker around with anything that has a motor. Bikes, cars, and my fingernails get dirty, so I
Oh,
unwind that way. So I even just cleaning my cars. I have a modest collection of old cars that I keep, but I keep
wow.
immaculately clean, and may tawag, detailing it. No, I don't even use it. Where do you
All
go
by
this time?
yourself?
Yeah, well,
Detailing.
sometimes with the help of my kasambahays, but typically I enjoy it, cleaning, detailing the engine, and that keeps me off grid of my work that you focus on, and then just marveling at how I've been doing that ever since I was even if I was not working yet. No, I was in school
Wow.
at a young
I
age.
think yung mga car
My
lovers
father
dito.
asked me. My father asked me to clean his cars. So and then I had to share my cars with my older brothers, no? And my older brothers didn't have as much passion, so I clean it, and only for them, it's their turn to use it. They send it back to me very, very dirty, only for me to clean it again. So it's
I
been a
think the
habit.
viewers is imagining what type of cars or what are the car models that your is that belongs to your collection. Nagbigay ka nga sir ng isa to excite the audience of
Wag
a
na
car
lang,
your
wag na.
favorite.
Oo.
Ayaw. Alright
Dat,
sir.
dati importante, kakasabi ko sa'yo, mas importante sa akin mga relationships ko na ngayon, hindi na yung
Okay.
material
Noted sir.
things. Although I have to admit, I still enjoy them.
It's with men and with their cars, no? Sir, moving on. Who is your most
Typical. Typical.
Typical na. Who is your most challenging competitor, and what do you think uh,
The,
of the
the
competition like?
incumbents. The incumbents, they're very entrenched, and they're, in fairness, no, I've worked with one of them, and I know the other side. They're very well entrenched, and the leadership of this the leadership core of these competitors are also very capable, and they have vast experience, and they have access. They have some of the best people also in the industry, and certainly you have to compete with them. Fortunately, this is a zero-sum game. The local pool that we have right now also came from the existing players, albeit they are younger. No? Uh, so that allowed us to get some of the younger, more digital folks into the industry because it's a specialized industry. But in terms of the incumbents have been there for 30 years. PLDT is nearly 100 years, and Globe certainly has been there, and they're fighting toe to toe. And they know the business very well, and they have formidable sponsors and leaders. No?
Sir, talking about this and how long have you been in the industry, what do you think is still missing?
More players to give the market better choices and a wide array of choices. Because with competition, always brings forth the benefits.
The
Actually,
best in
brings forth the best in every player, and redounds to eventually the eventual winner or the consumers. No? Could you imagine a monopoly? That's why that's the antithesis of a monopoly, right? Because with a monopoly, you don't care about how the customers think about you. You have no choice.
if they have no choice. Yes, that's right. So given that, with the more players in the market, how do you lead and what's your leadership style to ensure that regardless of the competitors, if it comes like so many competitors, that you'll still have that edge in the market share? How do you do it? What's your leadership style?
I've always believed in pay for performance, no? And I always try to adjust the bar to the capability of the individual that I have managed over the years, no? And reward accordingly. I'm also a very tolerant reader. I can tolerate mistakes for as long as you don't do it twice, right? So there's always a learning process, which is also the same bar that I impose on myself. I'm allowed to make mistakes on a different subject. I'm not very forgiving about me uh, committing the same mistake two times or over. It means there was no lesson learned.
And sir, with that you're the principles that you're telling me, can you tell me who is your mentor? I mean, who is the person that you know has been most influential in terms of your
Parang beauty contest na to ah. Parang
last na
beauty
yan eh.
contest.
Do dapat pang
Oh.
beauty, pang
So it's my
ano talaga
mother and
pang
father's,
clothes.
it's my mother and father, most especially my parents, di ba? No, but seriously, I guess it's my folks. No, I learned the rudiments of good manners and right conduct from them, no, at the very start. Things that you never learn in school necessarily. So I learned education by birth is what you get from your parents, and that's a birthright I'd like to protect and continue to safeguard until the day I die. That's the only true value I have the true legacy and the true wealth that I have that I can pass on to the next generation, my children. Integrity of character, no, and honesty and all the other virtues that most humankind are expected to do if they are subjected to the basic bar of decency and human conduct. So that to me is, and my parents actually, I'd like to thank them. My mother is turning 88 next week. Happy birthday,
Wow.
mom! No?
Yan ay vlogging.
And
Happy birthday. Happy birthday po.
my father passed away sadly about 13 years ago, and my mom, luckily, fortunate for all seven siblings, she's still around, and we certainly intend to give as much care to her, no, in her very ripe golden age. The next one are my bosses in my past careers, whether in the bank, and most recently, I must pay tribute to MVP. No? MVP gave me the opportunities the last 20 years in this in the telecom industry. He gave me the career latitude to rise up the corporate ladder from head of enterprise into being Chief Revenue Officer of the entire PLDT Smart organization. And that certainly spelled for a lot of very valuable experience and exposure and even wisdom. That makes, I can't forget, 17 years with PLDT, with a mentor as written about, and he needs no introduction as MVP, is a blessing in its own right. So I'm very fortunate, and if someone can reach him, I'm very thankful for all the opportunities granted.
Sir, last na talaga to because you mentioned MVP. Do you have a very memorable conversation or advice that he has given you that you want to that can be shared with our audience today?
He knows this, and I told him when we parted, he gave me a very good lesson. And he imparted me with this: do it, do always do what is right at the risk of losing your job, right? And most likely you won't. If you do, you're still going to be at peace. So that's a valuable lesson that has stuck here.
Wow. Wow. Ang ganda nun, sir. And, sir, it's been very entertaining for me and educational that you're here with us this afternoon. And we would like to thank you for imparting and sharing with us all the wisdom that you have given us this afternoon with no holds bar to the question, may it be controversial or not. But last but not the least, what do you want to impart with our audience in terms of investing, in terms of the direction of Dito CME? The floor is yours.
Well, first of all, China, on behalf of my colleagues, thank you very much for this opportunity to be in my trade and your touch base segment. No? And I'd like to thank all the hundreds of your audience that invested the time to be with us today. All I can say is that I think the market is rife. It's conducive, and uh, it has been proven, no, that there is room for another player in the market that will redound to the greater benefit of Filipino consumers, and that if to take a look at this alternative player uh, on its ability, on the sponsors, what they bring to the table in terms of technical and managerial capability, and then what they bring to the market in terms of the quality of services down the road in the longer term. And from the investment point of view, I would like to repeat, no, that the market has been quite a duopoly. In, this is the only market that has only two mobile players before the entry of the third player. And certainly, I think we've proven that there is room for a formidable player if they are committed to their mission, and for the investors to take a good look, a good strategic look at DCME for the investments that we have done, primarily on the telco and the other relevant digital businesses that are coming to be ever more relevant in the near and medium term and long term future. Again, thank
Thank
you
you,
very much
sir.
for giving us opportunity to explain and to articulate who we are to your viewership. Salamat,
It's our
Sheila.
pleasure, sir. Thank you so much. And there you have it, guys. I hope you enjoyed today's topic. This is Touch Base. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, please click subscribe and click the notification bell so you would know the latest segments here in My Trade YouTube channel. And for those who would like to subscribe and to open an account with us, just go to our website and talk to and our Facebook messenger to talk with our customer service representative to be able to know the requirements basically in opening an account. These are just the tip of the icebergs, and there are of the iceberg, and there are a lot of things that we have in store for our clients and subscribers. And with that, good afternoon, and may you have a safe and be responsible in when you go out. All right, okay, bye, thank you, and this is Touch Base.